one. Oh my gosh, we're back at it again. Jason Olivier, yay, and Tyler Paula T coming at you. Jason, why are we here?
We have a potential birthing of ideas, and we're exploring that in full go.
Yes, and it's funny that you're speaking about men birthing things given the current times, but no, we're not going down that rabbit hole. We are, in fact, talking about birthing what exactly?
The concept around developing a formal tribal community around what that may look like through the lens of a holistic health entity, organization, structure, um, clinic. I don't know the right word just yet, Tyler, but some kind of mechanism for systemic, holistic health so that people have one place as a default to go to get all of their primary health care needs met. That's how I think about it.
Mm, yeah, I love that. Yeah, and just to simplify, because Jason's brain is so smart and uses such big words, we're basically trying to create a center for people to come to and feel and experience a sense of tribe and community while working on their health, right?
If you feel so inclined that that feels good for you, yeah, I can jump on that.
I'm just trying to simplify it for the, general listener here.
So, for the general listener, fucking get healthy, get whole, and have an opportunity for a location and a place to do that with support and love, and potentially jump into this thing called a tribal community of healthy individuals. Sure.
Mm, yeah, dope. Um, let's speak to why we think that's so important really quickly. Why specifically do we need a community or a tribe, as we like to call it, to get healthy? Why not just do this by ourselves? Why not just go to our doctors and go to the gym and, cook healthy at home? Why can't we just do this on our own?
Well, one option is to do that on your own. And there are pros and cons, I guess, to doing that on your own. I think and feel like if I were to assume our historical conversations, that there's a beauty, there's a benefit that outweighs most things in regards to doing it through the lens of a tribal or community atmosphere of
Mm,
support. I remember taking my social psychology class, and the title of the primary book that we used was Social Animal. So I think there's some kind of probably uh, innate wiring that we have for community and social, that our survivability is greater in numbers than an individual. I know there's potentially or probably a lot of research on isolation and etc. in regards to health. And I do think, as a caveat, there's a difference between one feeling and being alone versus being lonely. So that's another topic maybe for another day.
totally.
But I think that's where my mind goes, Tyler, in regards to the why tribe and in my overall health. Everyone knows a little bit something different in regards to maybe their knowledge. Everyone knows or has had different experiences. And I know even within ourselves, I'm constantly at times reaching out to different folks about different perspectives and different insights and different expertise that could help me think about and feel into what do I want to do with my health, or where do I move? Why do I move? Who do I want to spend time with? Or things around values and stuff like that. So I think all of that maybe play into it. What about
For
you?
sure. I think about the body keeps a score and how the polyvagal theory, and I think they're still doing a lot of research on this. It speaks about trauma in that book, and reference specifically what I'm thinking about is how there's a social component to that theory, in that trauma can literally only be processed through a social interaction and expression with an interaction of another human. Have you heard about this or read that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so to me, something about our nervous system needs some sort of interaction to process things, whether that be trauma or whether that be um, thoughts, beliefs, and in that as well, I believe health, being that the nervous system is a part of our health. So I really believe that we can't do it alone. I really do. I think that let's just say you make it through college and you've learned nothing about health up until that point, and you're super sick and you decide, hey, I want to get healthy. If you don't have the internet or the help from the internet or help from your family or help from somebody, a doctor, there's no way that you're going to heal because you're not going to have the knowledge. You might not have the support or the inspiration to be able to do so. I think that it takes a village to get healthy. I think it takes a village to stay healthy. And that's why we're trying to create that. I think there's a mass movement that can take place within oneself when you have a group in support of that. And you know about peak experiences when you go to a seminar or a retreat or something. We all do it together. We're not really doing those things alone, and that brings a certain energy and a movement within yourself to get healthier and feel better.
Down.
Sweet. Um, so now let's just explain why we're on here right now, on a podcast or recording or social media, wherever you're watching or listening to this. Why did we decide to it's funny I'm asking you this because you didn't even know we were recording today, so you don't know why we're doing this really.
Yeah.
So let me just answer my own question. We're here creating content and creating a discussion online long before we have the actual location in place, because we're trying to both build an energy, a conversation. Um, we're trying to think out loud and process with each other and our colleagues to be able to create and bring to fruition this real life thing that is not going to be on the internet, not be on the airwaves, it's going to be in person. But we're beginning by building the vision here, and we're documenting the process of building the vision here as well. You and I, we have some ideas about business, but I wouldn't say we've ever created something like this before. Have you?
No.
Cool. So we're going to document that for all of you, because guess what? When it comes to building a healthy community, we're not, even you and I are not going to be able to do it by ourselves. So we'll need help from others, and maybe we'll inspire other people to create similar things and quote unquote compete with us or build, bigger and better things along the way as well.
Sounds good to me.
Dope. Dope is dope. I'll also speak to just Jason and I's relationship. He's actually my boyfriend. We've been longtime lovers. Just kidding. Why are we on here together?
First and foremost, we're brothers from another mother, so let's see. Why are we on here? The most honest question is I have no fundamental understanding as to why we are. We just are. How about that?
Yeah.
And our relationship and friendship started, I don't know, about 6 years now, maybe a little bit longer, shorter. I don't. It's through journeys of wisdom,
Time.
time, and ever since then we have gravitated to each other in supporting each other and sharing life as brothers, and it's been a fun dance. So, and then we just have many shared ideas and hearts and minds, and how to try to navigate life with grace while we stumble and fall at times and succeed and all that life brings to us. So it's nurtured this deal, and we were just hanging out last month in September, and we started talking about this idea and talking about how I've had this idea for a while myself, and so we're going to see and explore about synergizing our energies, and kind of to the earlier question about, doing your own thing versus being in community. And so maybe we can start the genesis of what it's like to come together as a small tribe within the scope of what we're conversating about, and see where
Hmm.
it goes and see how it unfolds.
Totally. Also say that I just saw a cardinal fly outside, which is a very meaningful bird to me. But nonetheless, yeah, for my acknowledgement of my relationship to you, it's the easiest relationship I could I have. Like, it is so easy to be your brother. And it is just this natural evolution of coming together to build something. It only made sense. at least to me. And, our tribe, and we've always talked about doing something together, building something together. Um, and to me, building something like this together, and whoever else ends up becoming a part of it, it I'm sure it'll have its headaches and it'll be really difficult and challenging in many ways. But I couldn't think of a more gratifying thing to bring something like that to fruition with your tribe, to walk into what you could call your playground, your dream location that you put together with your tribe and your family. Nothing sounds more fun to me. Sounds so, so fun to me. So, um, really quickly, too, to know really what's going to come to fruition and the vision and mission and so on, would you like to give yourself a little description? Who are you? Why are you? Maybe a couple of your values, really quick. Actually, take as much time as you need, not really quick.
Uh, who am I? Okay, well, it depends on how we want to go and answer this question. We answering these questions for the normal person?
um, we're gonna maybe a little both, a little both. You can
All right.
answer it however you want, as long as you stay centered in the middle of the camera.
Am I not centered?
First you should tell the listener and viewer that you're old, so technology is not your strong suit.
Maybe for 53, my technology skills are pretty decent. Okay, so let's put it this way. Who is Jason? I don't know. He's an object living this life. What is Jason? I tend to accept the non-dualistic idea that I don't know what I am, but I know that I'm not what I think I am. So let's start there. So, okay, let's put aside the big philosophical thing. In the traditional sense, born and raised in New York, went to college, have an undergrad in psych, have a master's in administration, have another psych in organizational development, or like a organizational psych concept or degree. Went on to have all kinds of different certifications through the Czech Institute with Czech practitioner and holistic lifestyle coach. Went on to do Journeys of Wisdom and got certified through that entity, and that's where we met. And that's a lot of mental and emotional work and shadow work, etc. That evolved into a certification in as a professional coach, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. Then that led into also being a certified Enneagram coach. I co-authored the development of a psychological personality assessment with a whole scoring system with my former partner who's since passed, who is a PhD clinical psychologist. And then I also recently got certified as a somatic breathwork coach. So anything along the lines of just evolving in my understanding and application of different health modalities for this body and this mind to supposedly be as functional as possible as I navigate life is what I've dabbled in. Um, what else about me? I'm like a normal human being. I have my struggles. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
She's not supposed to be talking.
she's not.
No. I'm in a
Mm-mm.
partnership with this
On
crazy
cue.
this crazy Middle Eastern gal. Her name is Zaina, and so she's talking even though she was asked not to talk anymore. And so that's just her. And so that's part of my life as well.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, so live in Ohio currently and enjoying life overall with different phases of what has happened recently to life and where I'm going and the excitement of our conversation. So that's maybe a little bit about me.
wonderful. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing. I'll just say that I'm just like Jason, minus the degree, about 20 years behind. So that's about it. Hopefully there will be a divorce not happening in my future. You
Yeah,
know,
that would be good.
you learned for both of us. Hopefully that transmutes into my relationship with Ashley, who you're very close with as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I'll I'll just say I'm a trainer. I've been a trainer. I'm a personal training manager these days, spending a lot of time there. I'm a seeker, if you want to call it that. I like to be playful. I'm a lover. I'm just curious about things often. Yeah, I'm also not a lot of things. I'm not more things than I am things. Maybe most days, and I know that right now I'm living the purpose I'm meant to live in this time, but the things to be built will personify more of what I envision myself to be, which is why we're here, at least on my part. Um, cool. Any other elaborations on those things? Who we are, why we're here, why we are? Anything else we should tell the viewer or listener?
I'll sum it up for me as say it's a mystery, and the beauty of the mystery and trying to turn the next page and the next page. It's kind of to me like, you're reading a good novel, and you're just excited to see what happens with life. So I think just two humans eager enough, curious enough, and have at least enough courage to push each other to turn the page and to see how the story unfolds, is what I think is important for me in this moment to share.
Cool. Let's push the page.
Push the page, brother.
All right. So today, specifically, being that it's the first time we're meeting in this
Mm-hmm.
context, I think one of the main things that we wanted to talk about was mission and vision of what this entity could be. Now, I've been calling it tribal. Let's just start with what do you think about that name? TRYBL.
I'm down. I think the first time I saw what you had, I was like, yeah, I can get behind that pretty easy. I love it. It's not the norm. It's unique, but yet it speaks to really embody I would project to say our experiences of what our intention, our feeling, and our thoughts are, and our passion around quote tribe or
Mm-hmm.
tribal. So yeah.
Cool.
How about you?
Um,
How did you get inspired to come up with that spelling? And don't tell me
how
you
does
asked AI.
no, I actually didn't. I mean, how does anybody get inspired to think of any name? I don't know. I mean, I just know that we refer to our group as tribe, and in just considering the collective that we're considering here, um, I thought of a fun way to make a name interesting. I do like the fact that it says try in there because inherently we do have to, in my opinion, we do have to put some effort into our health. So I like that. I think that, our tagline or subline or whatever, there's going to be some more description in that because inherently tribal doesn't really mean anything. It could be tribal health and wellness, tribal medicine, tribal whatever. Or the subline tagline could be something like a community for health or moving illness out of society, whatever we want to call it. I think we'll consider those things a little bit more once the vision is more clear. But I think the name, the title will be capturing enough to a degree that people will understand, okay, there's something communal happening here. Think so?
I'm down.
Cool. All right. So, what's more important to talk about first, vision or mission?
I mean, I'm kind of biased because I think probably the vision kind of describes where do we want to become, or where do we want to go for the future? And then for
Hmm.
me, the mission is uh, describing it and how we're going to achieve that goal or
Okay.
its goals.
So,
But
one
I,
is
I can
like,
go, I can go either way. It doesn't matter to me. We can flip a coin and see how one feeds the other. So
well, I think that I'm just making notes here, just so you guys know, just being very proactive. The To me, the vision is the end goal, to see it and feel it maybe as well. And then the mission is the processes, the systems, the steps, the actual action that is taking place within the vision. Does that make sense?
yeah, I mean, I think it's synonymous for me. I don't know. I like my language naturally, right? So the vision is, to your point, the North Star. It's the lighthouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's where we want to go eventually or be or embody as the end game. The
Hmm.
mission for me tells us what needs to, how do we want to achieve the goals that we have as an entity in order to embody that vision.
Okay.
So we might be saying the same thing with just different words. I don't know. Um,
That's basically what I'm hearing.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Um, that's okay. This is a common experience between my partner and I. So,
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, it's interesting. This is we can speak to how the mind works in general, but I think in general, most of us think about the North Star first. That is the common way in which we kind of find inspiration. We see our body the way we want it to be, or we see slash feel the way we want to feel, or we see the house, or we see the whatever. I'm not saying that's necessarily the right way of doing it, maybe just more so the natural, common way of doing it. So let's just kind of go off of that. What is that North Star for you? Let's see if we align. The North Star of what TRYBL could be for you.
Oh shit. This is like boiling the ocean. What is tribal for me? To tribal is embodying the ability to feel safe, psychological and physical safety, to feel a sense of community or that supports, let's just say, the best versions of self, the best versions of self and the community at large, and maybe
Okay.
ultimately how that could impact the environment.
The environment, meaning like the environment at large,
Um, well, realistically,
or
is Mother Nature, environment, also human beings, and influencing and having an impact upon
yeah.
the psyche of maybe you know, the physical and the emotional psyche of the environment and impacting or influencing either one of those or hopefully both spheres.
Hmm. I had this. Thank you for sharing that. I'll speak a little bit more to that, but just something that came to mind that I wrote down the other day that I thought you might appreciate is um, that there is a nervous system of the community at TRYBL. And the nervous system is the process in which you cycle through the modalities. And we can, market slash, and we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but speak to the nervous system of the community and how the nervous system of the connection and community you're experiencing there is also addressing the nervous system of the community and therefore the individual.
Yep, I'm down.
Cool.
And that was
So,
kind of your verbiage of what I was also getting at in regards to psychological as well as physiological safety,
yeah.
So I think, yeah, I'm on board with that 100%. So even if we wanted to use the metaphor of the human body as being the embodiment of tribe, right? You have
Yep.
all nervous system, the immune system, the cardiovascular system, you can just have so many different aspects that
Which
are necessary for a thriving organism.
which could be a really interesting way of approaching the way that we speak to people in health and the different modalities that are offered in whatever the context is. But speak a little bit more now. You kind of have like North Star values. I would say that they are right. What practically speaking, and maybe there's more answers than one, more than one answer, in how this can show up in the world. What kind of context can this be supported in?
Can you rephrase your question?
Okay, so safety, community, and connection that support best versions of self, that facilitate possibly a growth or betterment of nature and environment. What's the context that this can be created in? Is this a online platform? Is this a retreat center? Is this a brick and mortar, you know, house? Is it you know, is it a service?
Well, it's a good question, Tyler. I'll just start spouting off. Who knows? I would say is all of the above feel appropriate to me in this moment. I think we live in a world where virtual is a prerequisite to really getting the word out and helping share our vision. And if you want to look at it from a woo-woo perspective of energy and the the concepts around that which we can't see, but energy travels. Like, okay, so I wouldn't want to identify tribal as simply limited to what can be used by our five senses. And since our essential nature or our being is beyond those typical five senses, then I think being more inclusive, and I would suggest having a cascading strategy in whatever we do to develop community, that we're thinking about it systemically and on different levels. So ultimately, yes, on the virtual, a retreat, doing retreats that are, a bolus of people's time together, and then they go back to, their environment because that's just, where they were born and raised, and just logistically, it doesn't make sense for them to get up and move, right? Or there's wanting to participate, but not sure if they're ready to make the leap to, quote, be more communal. Everyone is in different phases of their journey. And then for people who um, want a place to experience their health and nurture a sense of community, we've talked about different workout facilities and different organizations create a social structure where it feels good to going through a tough workout, for example, together. And that I have someone who I know that's going through as something as difficult as I am, and coming through on the other side, and what that means and what that represents to them. And I can refer back to my college football days, is like when you get through training camp of 2 to 3 weeks of just being brutalized, whoever's left and didn't quit the team, at a minimum, they survived the gig, the deal. And so there's an inherent level of respect for having partnership to encourage you, because God knows there were mornings that I was like, fuck you to the football coach, banging the garbage can with a baseball bat, telling everyone to wake up, and
Yeah.
didn't want to go. And my roommate's like, yo, get your ass up, let's go, we're going. And then another morning it was me. So, having that sense of having a facility to share blood, sweat, and tears, literally and metaphorically together, I think is another option. And then ultimately, whoever feels called, some kind of communal living where we're not on top of each other, but per se, but we have a living structure that people can come and spend a month and just unplug, right? Or buy into a plot and can sponsor people coming to said location, and or people want to live full time, like, or people want to use it as, gifting people an opportunity to come down and get some wellness, whether it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, I don't know. So I think those, to me, long-winded maybe, as I'm just processing out loud your question, to say,
That's for sure.
yeah,
But I
well,
appreciate it.
I think there's something to be said about different tiers, different levels, and
Yes.
building it as it evolves.
Yep.
Again, referring back to the human body, right? So when you're 4 weeks of gestation versus 20 weeks versus 35 weeks, it's, and going with
Definitely.
supply and demand and wherever things flow and there's interest.
Yeah. Um, Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I agree with you that there's obviously a lot of different ways that we're going to be able to reach different types of people wherever they are. And I think it's important that we do that. Otherwise, we're not comprehensive or holistic. We can't just expect a bunch of Tylers and Jasons to, want to live on a plot of land and do permaculture together barefoot all day long and, stuff like that. It's just not going to happen. People have real lives that they're already immersed in. But I do believe that to be a comprehensive company, organization, alliance, which, by the way, I'm just thinking the Holistic Health Alliance out loud, maybe that's what we're called, that we have those different levels of offerings. We have an app, we have a website, we have school, whatever it is. We have the brick and mortar, the daily kind of situation. We have the retreats or retreat center. We have the living structure and the living, whatever the land. I think that to have different options for everybody is fucking awesome. I think that's comprehensive, and that kind of big vision really excites me more than even just one place. I do want it to be big. I want it to be supportive of the masses if possible. Cool. So North Star values. Now let's just say, what makes you most excited? Is it to have a place that you can go to every day and just feel good and do what you need to do? Or does it feel more exciting to you to create like a retreat center? Does it feel more exciting to you personally to create a living facility slash retreat center? Like, what really excites you the most? I'm going to guess that it's not creating a website and an app for people to meet with us on.
No, it wouldn't. However, if it was a precursor to all kinds of stuff or for
Yeah,
integration purposes, absolutely. I mean, I think that feels nowadays almost like a prerequisite to have an
totally.
app and have. So I would just include that as part of the business model, whatever that looks like. Um, I would have to say is what excites me the most. Well, I would say all of it for different reasons, but if I have to pick one, I would probably today be most inclined towards the retreat kind of approach. Again, I have interest in all of the ones that you mentioned for different reasons. I guess the thing that around the communal living and like the more people that you involve, the potential for headache, and that's all with every endeavor. More potential reward, but more headache. And I'm just sensitive. I've seen so much stuff up to this point in my life that it would have to be vetted and wanting to no one self-sabotage, let's put it that way in a very high level term of self-sabotage or sabotage by others. Let me say it that way. And dealing with all of that. More than happy to, but if I had to put out my preference. The daily stuff, that sounds cool to me because there's something important about a daily ritual and daily routines and daily community. So that's why I said I like all three for different reasons. Um, Part of me is like, well, the reality is overwhelming majority of people need the retreat like mechanism with some integration. And I think if there was an enhanced communal integration type process, I mean, I know we have done together some plant medicine and the integration process, at least experienced, was either lacked or I just didn't find it engaging enough to do it. And
Hmm.
that's maybe because I had folks like yourself and others that have been through that, so that my version of what integration, who are resources for integration, I felt like I had those already in place.
Yeah.
But I ultimately think retreats with some kind of cool differentiator that makes us different around tribal integration, I think feels good because it's almost like inhalation exhalation. You get in, you immerse yourself. I think of all the times we've done that, whether it's been plant medicine, journeys of wisdom, or the Czech classes I've taken. Yeah, the classes have been fun, but it's like it's the time that for example, it's the time that we spent together outside of the
Yeah.
class,
Totally.
debriefing the class, just seeing my experience, having food together, all while doing that.
Yep.
That's the shit that has etched marks in my heart about what our relationship represents to us. And there's something to be said about getting away and having time to remove myself from the positives and negatives of daily living and just give myself breathing room
Yep.
to really explore myself uninterrupted, so to speak. And then trying to then galvanize myself to go back then into the throes of things with those experiences that I hope catapult people into sustaining it, even with the concept of rebounding in mind, that there's still a moving forward and a feeling of that I might be at a snail pace or turtle pace, or a rabbit's pace, but I come out of it with being propelled forward. Those things I really do like and appreciate. Again, I'll summarize by saying I still see value in all of those things that you've shared, Tyler, and I'm definitely intrigued and interested in them for different reasons.
Yeah, I think they all support each other. I think they all benefit
Mhm.
everybody. I think they all benefit us all at the same time. There's just
For
going to be,
sure.
like you said, different people at different times that are going to be supported by those things differently.
Yeah.
I guess the trick is just creating those things in what order are those created, what makes the most sense business wise, impact wise. For me, real work, I say real, um, the most important work that I've done happens as an immersion for sure with tribe or people that have ended up being my tribe or I've been close with. Yet, you know that when as soon as we come back to our daily life, the integration either ceases or slows or isn't well supported, which is why I think the happy medium, the place to meet in between to have both the virtual support and also the retreat, more immersive, deep experience is the daily support that we can come to semi regularly is what's going to be the fulcrum essentially of all those other things. That's why I think that's where we should start. I mean, we've kind of started by doing some online stuff, but it's to me it's never going to be as big or as important as when we have that place that we are able to actually face to face interact with our community, hug people, because you know that when you meet somebody online, that relationship could never be quite as good as if you're able to hug them semi regularly, you know, at least in my opinion. So, just practically speaking, that's what I'm thinking that we need to put a lot of our time and energy into first. That brick and mortar, that place that we can visit daily. How's that land for you?
Um, yes, I can. It's like an informed consent here, right? So yes, I can see that as being the. I think what's important is that. Okay, well, let me say it this way. Conceptually, yes. From a pragmatic business and financial, and from logistics and how, as you said, one feeds into the other, or one's input is one's output, and vice versa. I think all of that, at least what we feel like what that would look like in 2024, so that we're at least putting our assumptions, our biases, putting our potential blind spots on the table. Because unless I confess them and draw them out or put them out on the table, there's less of an ability to communicate, vet, align, debate, discuss, identify conflicts, so that ultimately, if the brick and mortar is the way to go, yay. But we've done our due diligence of putting potential conflict, like I said, dollars, resources, ROI, blind spots, all on the table, so that we're trying to make as an informed decision as possible, as I think
Yeah.
is what I think is the best that we can do, knowing that 2 years from now shit's going to be different, and that's okay.
And
Yeah.
when we were originally doing the outline here of, TRYBL, we had listed 14, 15 different things that we thought would be important to discuss going into this.
Mhm.
And today is just day one. So I
Sure.
imagine through those 14 things that we're going to get into all those things and have more of these discussions about those things to really suss out all of those practical things, the fears, the needs, the practicalities, the things that we know and the things that we don't know that we'll probably need help with. I would imagine that it would be pretty cool to have people on here that maybe know something about starting something like that we don't, to kind of learn and also get their opinions at the same time. Um, okay, so how are you feeling about the vision?
I mean, listen, probably it's going to take some iterations. I'm 100%, so I'm not like disappointed. I'm just saying is yes, I think we keep on funneling it down so that ultimately we can develop a crisp vision statement and then a mission statement for sure. I feel like we're on the right track ultimately to funnel that down into what that could look like. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate. I mean, now to me, now is the time to not be discriminatory on anything. Just share, process, internal, external, however we need to, and
Definitely. And challenge each other too.
yeah. Fuck you, Tyler. I don't like that idea.
Exactly. No, I mean, it's true though, because if you don't say it now, the good thing about you and I is I think that we could either have a good time fucking with each other that way and saying that we actually don't agree or agree and that we're
Yep.
not afraid to do that for each other.
Yep.
Um, okay, so I think that for today's purposes, we kind of got some idea of vision, and we can go a little bit deeper here to finish off. We kind of gently massaged into what mission could be. But I think we should save that for next time and go a little bit more deep into that and let the discussion about vision settle a little bit and see if there's any differentiation that we need to make going into the next conversation. But to wrap up vision, is there anything else that we should shine light on?
Not necessarily today, but as a teaser for follow up next week, maybe when we talk. I think putting the topics such as do we want to be disruptors to the healthcare system? Do we want to, how do we want to distinguish ourselves from the alternative health community that's different or unique?
Hmm.
Or maybe not different, but we just do it better. We get better results. I don't
Yeah.
know. So those are things that I think related to the vision that I think are and feel like would be important.
Yeah.
Um, is there anything else?
I'd like to speak to this phrase that you said, disruptors to the system. I think that, yes, that will be the result, but I don't think that's what we should go into it thinking that we're trying to do. You and I have our own opinions about the system, and then we have our own ways about um, living our lives out and being healthy. But I don't think it serves you and I, and I'm sure we don't do this strategically or regularly by purposely disrupting the way other people perceive the system or the system itself. Like we're not going into doctors' offices and saying this shit sucks. You're doing it the wrong way, and we're not going out of our way to tell the regular human that the way that you're going about your health is wrong. What we're doing is we're living our lives and being an example. We're creating an open and safe space for people to ask us questions and come to us for help. And I think that's exactly what we'll be doing with whatever we create. We're going to create an open door for people being curious into finding a new healthy way for themselves finding health. And inherently, hopefully, they realize that the system that they were in before is not the one that will serve them best long term.
Okay, and it depends upon some of these terms. So we could say, well, energetically, do we want to tell people they're doing it wrong? Well, there is a part of me that says yes. They having shitty results, so you're doing it wrong, and it's not meant to come with all kinds of judgments in a condescending way. We need to make decisions. We need to make judgments. Uh, Maybe it's just the spirit by which we make those judgments might be worth considering for us. I think it's going to be really important to be really clear with people about ultimately when we get into declaring healthy principles. No fucking sugar. Don't eat it. It's toxic. It's poison. I'm not negotiating with anyone on that point for me personally.
Well,
Um,
I appreciate that, but that's not going to work for all people.
and maybe that's a good question. Do we want to be all things for all people? I'm not sure I'm sold that that's an approach.
No, I agree with that. You
Okay.
can't be all things for all people. I'm
Okay.
saying that the communication style for those that approach us can be altered to speak to them at their level.
For sure. I don't want to say we will have exclusively one mode of communicating that sugar is a toxic poison. Fucking stop taking it, right? Sure, there is.
Don't
Are
be an
you
idiot, you fool.
right? Are
Yeah.
you aware of these? Yeah, you can package it for a toddler, you can package it for a teenager for sure.
Yeah.
I just know that being principle based fundamentally and in the health space, we're not going to be everyone's favorite, and we need to be okay with that. And I think we need to be willing to be okay with that, and be clear why we're willing to be okay with that, not just to be a curmudgeon and just opinionated without any like really due diligence and thoughtfulness, and accounting for different folks at different points in the journey. So for sure, I know I'm being flippant on our conversation today, but that's not my intent. But I also think we need to stand for something. It's
For
kind of
sure.
like the proverbial, uh, if you, unless you have values that you're willing to live by, you have no no. Your yes means shit, because you have no no. So I think
Yeah.
those are important to consider when we're going down this path. A
Hmm.
100%.
Cool. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, what else? What else in regards to the vision? Is there any little bow you'd like to tie on what we're painting here?
Well, part of me says, Tyler, around the vision is, I'm gonna sit with it. I'll say it, but I need to sit with it for myself a little bit more. Is I would challenge us to really think about our vision, about truly what touches our hearts and stirs our hearts, about the long-term vision of where we want to be and what it looks like. And that the mission might have to be adapted multiple times over, or have different contingencies, or have different elements to it to speak to these multi levels that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Um, meaning, if our vision is to create a utopia society of tribal people for healthy living, then naturally that's going to be in person, virtual retreats, communal living, um, government entities, or creating societies or associations that challenge the current paradigm of healthcare. Do we want to offer, like, eventually a healthcare insurance? How do we create a healthcare insurance within our tribal that everyone would pay X amount,
Ooh, I like that.
and you have access to everything that we have, and having people, physicians, and all kinds of licensed clinical people sign up, and like there's all kinds of fun things. So then ultimately our mission could be multi-pronged, in regards to trying
Yeah.
to guide us through all of those different things that we think people would need systemically
Yeah.
to embody health.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, did you have more?
No, sir, I'm good. What
I
about
love
you?
that. Well, yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, that question, what stirs our hearts long term? My heart's pretty fluid. That's why I have the tattoo of the heart with the wave shape on my arm because I'm I'm moving all the time with my heart and my interests and my stirrings and I imagine that the vision and the mission will have its iterations and its movements and its flows and ebbs. I like a lot of what you said there about you know the healthcare insurance and making this even bigger and seeing areas that we can serve that maybe we can't even see yet. That's super cool. I'm open to it for sure. When I think of like the ideal situation, I refer back to the book Island. Have you read this book by Aldous
Nope.
Huxley? Without getting too deep into it, it's basically this utopian society that has been touched by modern day systems. And it just sounds ideal to me. It sounds like an ideal way of living, of being healthy, happy, and if I were to simplify the vision as much as I can, it would be a playful setting to feel happy, healthy with the people I love most. That's it. So there's going to be different versions of that and levels to it. But I think we've declared to some degree what we're looking forward to, what the image can be in our minds, and it's going to resonate and sit and digest and marinate for the next week or so. Next week we'll come to mission, which you described more about how that is. How do we want to actually achieve these goals? So until then, I bid you a farewell. I'm sure we'll be talking throughout the course of the week. Anything you want to leave off?
Hugs and kisses, brother.
Hugs and kisses. Peace.
Peace.